Hey, good morning. Welcome to Drawing for Tattooers. I'm your host, James Wisdom, and today we're going to be working on painting, um, but we'll start with some warm-ups like we like to do. So uh, I'm just going to start with doing some clouds to just get warmed up, get the blood flowing. Yeah. Not really thinking about it too much, but there's all different kinds of doodles and things that you could do to help get you warmed up. But ultimately, well, no, ultimately, whatever. I'm just saying I like to get warmed up before before I start drawing, real seriously. Um, and so I like to draw these clouds a lot. I think that's it's a it's a motif that I like to use in my tattoos, and I think it can be a relaxing exercise as well. Can help you unwind. Well, anyway, warm up with some of that, right? Get the blood pumping. Think about all the muscles in your forearms and how they each need to be properly warmed up and stretched. Do a bit of flexing, right? Wrist flexion. So pull your hand towards yourself a bit, right? Hold it 30 seconds and do each arm. Okay? And then pull back, right? Wrist extension. Opening the joint anteriorly. Yes. So really what we're trying to do is, again, just flex all those flexors and flex all those extensors. All of that. Okay. Well, let's see what we got here. Hey, Kyle Olson, how you doing?
Morning, sir. How are we doing?
I'm doing all right. Here, I think turn on my camera. Hey, there you are.
Hey, there you are.
Nice to
How's
see
it?
you.
Good to see you too, man.
I themed today's drawing stream around painting, and something that I used to do every week was get together with friends, and we would paint each other's portrait.
Oh, okay.
It was always enlightening to see how other people saw you. I think that's the part of it, but the other part, I think, it was a lot of fun. I think it's instructive. So anyway, just I painted a portrait of you, and so I'd like to show that now. Let me go ahead and let's turn this off. I think I can just. It'll probably go through my warm up as well, but here I'm gonna. Let me see. I'll turn you down for hold on a second. Yeah, this. Okay. All right, here it is. It's quick. So so I had a photograph of you. And so what I did was I put it up right as a reference, and I went through the process of painting. All right, this is digital, right? So I'm using my iPad to digitally paint, but I'm really trying to stay, in that same process, that same sort of order of operations that I would use if I was going to paint it with paint on a canvas. And so I'm just sort of like watching it. And so my thought is like, I would love to do a series of we get together and paint here on the drawing stream.
Yeah.
And work out some of this. Again, I know we can just trace a photo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
We can just trace them.
yeah. Uh-huh.
But there is something I think that can be charming about, working with, somebody in life, right? Or, trying to at least approach a photograph in that similar sort of vein.
Yeah.
I flipped the image. At some point, and I'm like, I had to work when I flipped it. We'll probably do it when we paint today, but when I flipped it, it was like really distorted. And so I found it really helpful to flip it and then to get the proportions a little bit closer and then return to
Uh-huh.
some of the details. And so it's probably one of those things, probably almost imperceptible, but I'm like making noodly little marks all over the place. The whole thing was really kind of starting with shape. I
Yeah.
know that's something that we try to talk about. Jake Meeks talks about it a lot, but essentially what we want to draw with the shape. We talk about drawing with lines all the time, but uh, the concept is the same. Instead of a line, though, we're using big shapes, big masses to try to like achieve whatever the form is that we're trying to get. And I'm not trying to go for a likeness right away. At some point, I
Yeah.
want to try to get to a likeness, if possible.
Yeah.
But again, it's just like this process of building up all of the shapes. Oh, there we go. Now we're
Dude, that was so cool.
That was it. So, all right, I'll
Dude,
come
you're
back.
such a hell of a painter, man.
Come back for a second.
Hell of a painter.
Thanks. No, I appreciate it. That was my portrait of you, uh, because I was looking for. I was like, what can I do? What's going to be significant?
Mm-hmm.
Kyle, I had a great picture of you, so I decided to use it. Now again, I can go back and I can nitpick it, but there's like proportional issues and drawing issues.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's nice though, or a nice way to think about it, is all the beautiful painterly stuff, all that stuff that happens, the more accurate you get it, the more magical it becomes. All that paint and all that stuff starts to, become this image. And it's like, so you're kind of like, you're inside of all of the technique and you can see all of the little, all the aspects of it that are like, that are paint. But then it starts to become this really, something concrete image, a likeness. It really evokes the subject, right? Whoever it is your painting is of. And I even think, like maybe it doesn't even have to be the most accurate all the time for this phenomenon to occur. It can actually be, a bit stylized or can be implied. A lot of that stuff can happen. So it's not really, I'm going to call it, it's a substitute. I'm going to say it's not a substitute, but like working digitally like this is fun. I would definitely recommend like getting your paints out, painting it up. And ultimately that's really what I'd like to do. I got to get the cameras all set up, but I'd like to do this with paint. It would be really fun if we could all, if we could virtually figure out how to do this. And then maybe one day people at home, they could be painting along with us. That sort of a thing. So
that'd be cool.
Have you ever had a chance to do that? Like hang out, draw, paint portrait of somebody from life?
No. I honestly, I've only had the opportunity to do like live drawings and stuff like that just a couple of times. Nothing crazy. Like, dude, that painting was so cool.
Well, you have to say that it's a view. So it takes a couple hours. I won't lie. You know what I mean? I won't lie. It takes a couple hours to do it, and it has to go through some phases where it doesn't. All right, arguably, you like it, and that means a lot. I like it too. For various reasons. I know you. I know that there's critical feedback about the painting, and what I'm suggesting is that we do it anyway.
Yeah.
Even if it's not perfect,
100%.
right? We do it anyway, and there's something. I think there's something really valuable, as we're working through the pain. So, well, I want to say what's up to Spirit. It's great to have you, Spirit.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing good. Good morning.
Good. Good morning. Good morning. Great
Good morning.
painting of Kyle. I was I was wanting to do some of that myself, just like drawing or like painting some of my friends, because I feel like maybe if I painted them, it would almost be like I'm spending time with them. Did it kind of feel like you were doing that with Kyle when you were painting him? It kind of felt like you were spending time with him.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course I did. I think that it was, I agree with you 100%, that there is something about getting to know someone, kind of really looking at their image.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Even if you do yourself, paint yourself or draw yourself, still got to learn. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
Well, I do that. I mean, we try to do that around here every year. We put out the challenge. Let's paint a painting of ourselves, or draw a picture of ourselves, or something like that. I think that working with yourself every year, I think it's a nice tradition. But I can't encourage you enough, Spirit, to start painting pictures of your friends. You might again, like I was, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, you don't have to trace the picture to make a really great portrait of somebody, a great study. I do think it takes a dedication, right? And probably doing some homework. That's what I would also say. I think would be a factor that would pay off, would pay dividends. Do some homework and learn some anatomy, work through some of that, really work through some of the basic stuff that we talk about a lot. But ultimately, you just kind of put that stuff on is running in the background, and then you just start engaging with the painting. So, I think it's all the color theory and stuff that we talk about. Again, it's like the colors that I like to use when I'm painting, they don't have to be like accurate. It's really more of a value thing. Like if the tone is right, if the value is right, then you can really experiment with all kinds of color. So
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like in that painting, like you figured like the white wall, everything like behind the subject matter, but you had like a very, very green hue and tinge to it, and it just like I think it was a really, really cool way of like interacting with the foreground object. I just thought it was such a cool color selection on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And just like the way that what's the technique called where you like base it with like a red or a brown or everything like that? You base the entire canvas, you just get it like roughed in or whatever, and then you start painting white over top of it. Like what's that technique called? It's not Caravaggio.
Well, so what what you just said, when you paint the whole canvas brown.
Yeah.
Here, I'll share. So if I take my whole screen here.
Yeah.
And let's just I'll just paint it brown. Big brush, maybe. Big brush. All right. Then if I were to start to start to take some bits away, you know what I mean? Like I start to make something out of it, right? Eventually, you would paint a painting, right? This would become the underpainting, because this looks like a breast, kind of. Anyway, so if you paint your whole drawing, on this like some neutral, you know what I mean? There's some kind of a neutral you may end up, right. You've got the drawing, going on.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the underpainting, right? You'd have this would be, this underpainting layer, right? You could take it to a really high degree of finish, right? You could make what would be called a grisaille, right? If you were to start painting, white and take white and black paint, mix it together, make a gray, and start painting, the value like that.
Mm-hmm.
In this underpainting, what you can do, you can actually erase. You know what I mean? And you can actually take a rag and sort of wipe out wipe the paint out if you like, and then again you start to end up with a tonal scheme, and then you can paint on top of it. If you paint the grisaille, which is what I was just sort of talking about, like it's just a white and black version of your image. You can take, when it dries, you can take layers of oil paint and glaze over top of it, right? That would be the glazing technique. If you just paint wet into wet, that's called alla prima. And so alla prima would be just a sort of like, that's more similar to what I demonstrated in the video with Kyle. So like an alla prima technique. And so the whole point is there's all different kinds of ways that you can paint digitally, right? Paint like analog if you like, but the technique is gonna make a difference. You know what I mean? Not that there's a right one or a wrong one, but like knowing how to achieve the result you want through a technique can be really powerful. So wet into wet, there's some things, there's limits to it, right? But that's also its condition of possibility. It's wet, you can sort of blend it in different ways, which is really nice. And then the same thing if it's dry. There's all kinds of dry, there's all kinds of things that you could do dry with it that will, that could be really, really beautiful sort of result. And so, how do you know what's the right, technique? I think it's, again, like there's a preference, right? That's going to play a role. What is it that how do you like to paint? And then experiment, right? I think that's also like really crucial too with this whole thing is, learning the material a bit and starting to get even more, familiar with it. And that can be, really powerful as well. But anyway, so the last thing I think, Kyle, just to mention, I think you were talking about, maybe talking about chiaroscuro or tenebrism, possibly.
Yeah, it's chiaroscuro.
Yeah, and those are the ones. That's a really powerful. That's a really powerful technique for rendering and stuff as well.
So, can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So with using the warmer underpainting tone, is that going to affect the colors that you put over top of it? Or so say if you wanted something a little bit like to emote something a bit more sadness or something like a little bit more depressive, so like a little bit more like colder tones. If that was the route you wanted to go, would you base it with a colder tone compared to a warmer tone, or is it just kind of like doesn't really matter?
No, I think that's a really great question. It would also depend on like how much you let some of that stuff underneath show through.
Okay.
But yeah, it will definitely have an impact on it. If you cover it up completely, it may not really, you may not perceive the thing that it's doing, for instance.
Okay.
But yeah, no, you can definitely, I think, you can tap into the way people feel about the mood of colors, I think, through the color choices, right? So there's been a lot of suggestion about how colors work, how they make people feel. I think a lot of that is it's contingent. It can be somewhat cultural, but
Yeah, that's
I
true.
do think that power, that color is powerful, and it is evocative in a lot of ways. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yes, I do think that, like, sort of playing around with that, experimenting with colors and stuff, I think that really can be super, super valuable. So, um, let's see, I have yeah. So I have like a reference image of another head study, just to sort of like paint, and I figured I would like paint through this a little bit. This is probably what, like I was saying, this is probably what I'm going to be kind of focusing on um, for the next, I don't know, few weeks. Just getting, just like talking to people about like how the drawing stream's going and what people think of it, and this was something that was, that kept coming up, was like, should focus a little bit more, do like a series or something. And and so I like that. I think that's really it's a really great idea.
I
So
think so too.
thanks.
Because
But I
it's
hope you guys would want to be a part of it. Some of them I may record, and we'll play them on Mondays, just for the next couple weeks. Got some fun summertime travel coming up, so I am really looking forward to it. But yeah,
Nice.
we might be. I'm working on like my editing as well, so
Oh, cool.
yeah, I'm not good at it. It is tough.
Oh, yeah.
It is
That
really
shit is
tough.
bonkers.
Well, so all right, so I'm just gonna like get into it here. I'm thinking about, like, again, the bigger shapes, and so I'm again just sort of locking in, like, what are the big shapes here. I'm not measuring really, I'm not doing too much. But again, what I think I would, once I have like a rough estimate of like head shape, maybe the proportion, might crop it there. Anyway, um, I would immediately go for this brow ridge right here, superciliary crest. That's, this, your eyebrows. And so there's a little triangle right here called the glabella. I'm just gonna like rub, sort of smudge. You can do that with the underpainting part, right? You can definitely kind of smudge it around a little bit and get it, sort of get it where you want it. Now again, I'm looking at the nose, like I want to put I want to place the nose, and I'm just so used to like a little shadow under the nose. It's so common, So I'll just put a little shadow there. Um, Same thing with the eye, the orbital sockets, right? Eye sockets. I'm just gonna block that in. Like, I'm not gonna do any details or nothing. Sort of block that in, right? So block that in under nose. Don't have to worry about the mouth really for now. That could be something. I think that could come later. So, but find that angle of the jaw, right? I've definitely seen this trick. Let's see if I can. I've definitely seen this trick, and I'm like visually, like if you were to start here, right? Is it draw like that, right? That gives you this where that angle of the jaw is, right? Like that, the really the back portion. I mean, it's like a gesture. It's like you do this, you kick it like that. Get rid of that green. I don't want it in there, but I'm just saying, like, there's all kinds of ways to figure that out. Back to my color here. But yeah, I don't know. Again, it's like there's a struggle. Like, how much detail do you put in real quick? I think I would almost just leave this as a big mass and just try to make sure that the masses were the right uh, proportion. So back here, you can see on the neck, right? I'm trying to put this I'm like being, really exaggerating right here so you could see it. But this portion of the neck, sternocleidomastoid muscle, right? So it's this side of the neck muscle, right? And that's that's what kind of makes up the shape of the neck, throat here, right? So it's the front of the sternocleidomastoid muscle here, and then there's the back part of it. Again, I'll sort of rub some of that out so it's values a little bit better. Both those muscles, right? They're going to connect here to the clavicle, right? That's your sternal notch right in the middle, right? There's both of your clavicles come together and they meet your sternum. So we can see evidence of the shoulder just kind of roughly over there. Looks like the apex of the shoulder and a turn, right, is like kind of before the chin, roughly. So, all right, next, maybe what I'll do is I'll just like erase a little bit and just add, like thinking about it, like highlights. Like this would be the light right there. Maybe a slightly smaller one. Bridge of the nose, right? Bridge of the, and then right on the ball of the nose, there seems to be like a lot of light right there. Got the so this upper palate, upper dental palate. So two bones here, the maxilla and the mandible. Mandible is your jaw. The maxilla, that's your upper, where your upper teeth and stuff go. I feel like there's going to be enough room there. It might be a little short there, but we'll have to see. Well, all right. So again, I'm not going to worry about mouth placement too much. Just thinking about the light and dark planes. Right. This area is really interesting, right? You've got nostril. I'm not going to try to overdo it too much, but you've got nostril, and then all of the nose anatomy, and then this little side part of your cheek, nasolabial furrow, right? It goes, it's behind the nostril, right, and then there. Again, it's not dark, so I'm just trying to show it rather than make it too prominent, but just as a note, like how that would fit. Okay. So looking pretty bad. Anyway, looking pretty bad. But I think that's the point of it, right? That's the part of it. It's got to go through these. It's got to go through this part before you can get to the pretty part. Well, hopefully, it's a pretty part. Looks like there's just a little bit of cheek on the other side. It's just showing a little bit. Something like that. Maybe we can take a little bit of value from there. So on and so forth. I might go with something really dark and then, I'm really trying to stick with these painting brushes, because I think that's the spirit of the challenge. Again, probably moving too fast, right? There's probably a lot more drawing to do before you get too crazy. And then I think also, if you really start painting on this, you're really going to start covering it up. You're going to basically cover up all these details and paint them again. And then you're going to cover up all those details and paint them again. And that's like that's how that goes. That's how that goes. Mm-hmm. All right, I'll put in the mouth a little bit here. Let's get rid of just a little bit of that.
So at this stage, you're not worried about smooth blends or anything. You're just worried about proportions and blocking the basic shapes in. Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah, that's exactly right. I really don't want to make it smooth. I don't want to worry about anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just blocking in what's light, what's dark. I don't know. Is that does that seem right?
Yeah, no. Yeah. yeah, just worried about like the basic landmarks and getting your proportions set up and stuff like that. Like how
Yeah,
you're not worried about the mouth yet. You're,
yeah.
making sure the overall shape of the head.
I am worried about it. How's it gonna work? I'm like looking, and I'm trying to see, and it's like, well, I guess things are they're pretty close. I mean, that's a part of the danger, right? It's like it's pretty close, and then you make a million little mistakes, and then at the end, it's like at the end that's your style, I guess. You make all these mistakes, and in the end, that's what you get. So lips, I'm just really trying to be very, very loose and general and not go for any kind of detail. Again, there's like teeth are showing and stuff. It's pretty complicated, but that would be I think the trap would be like, to look at these little spots, right, and see like, the sclera, right, or the white of the eye, better put white, in that spot. Oh, there's a tooth. They better put some white in that where the teeth go. You know what I mean? And like you ruin it. You destroy all of
Yeah,
the subtlety,
yeah.
right? You get rid of that stuff. Instead, it became a game of subtlety, right? And you end up, really being able to very subtly put in some darker values. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, I don't want to get too fiddly, but yes, you could start to push maybe just a little bit. But again, I think what I would do is probably take a step back and then, maybe like look for where's the darkest dark. Looks like some of the darkest darks, again, they're going to be in this eyelash area, but probably right here, this part of the hair. It's very dark underneath the ear, kind of over in that space. Very dark. So push it and put that, just put some. You don't have to go this. You don't have to go with your darkest dark. Like we can go a little bit darker. It looks like, right? But yeah, just sort of looking at the hair and like, oh wow, it is actually all pretty dark. So warm, still working in this warm register. But again, before you know it, like, and that would be nice about like, if you were going to do, um, you know, more of a glazed sort of approach, right? You just set up just grab a new layer, right? And then you could set it to, I don't know, like multiply or something, right? And then you could probably on the right layer. Yeah. Right. Then you could probably, sort of move this stuff around, and then it's going to pick up, it's going to pick up the values underneath. So, I mean, it's a nice way to experiment with that sort of a technique. But if we're just sort of still working in this sort of like a alla prima, like wet onto wet, that sort of feeling, I would probably sort of change to a cool, like here's a cool, sort of slightly more neutral, but still dark for the background, right? And then just block in kind of a dark background, just put it in there. And then I can always try to cut in. You put the background stuff down first, right? And then you would put like your thicker paint like on top, right? If you've ever watched Bob Ross paint a mountainscape, right? He like starts with the sky and then goes, puts the mountains on top of that, right? This is the same kind of principle, right? You put the background in, and then you would there we go. Some background. Looks like we go like maybe warmer. It's just some accent, you know what I mean? I don't even know. Just like an accent. And turn to that, make it a little thicker. There we go. So now there's some atmosphere, there's some mood or something, and we can continue. And if if I try to match that up, wet paint, like kind of right on top. Could just block it in. You know what I mean? Again, just sort of block in like some more color. Don't put it everywhere. And, you know, you could think about sort of there's coloration zones in the face, right? These are pretty well known. But, you know, so right around the cheeks, right, you're going to have slightly more warm red. You know, that's going to be more of the tone. That'll be the hue, right? So in the reds. And maybe it's like a warmer red, right, for the cheeks. Maybe a slightly warmer red. Again, block it in. Don't care.
Yeah.
But as long as the shapes are sort of, if they're in the right place, again, so we followed all our steps and we measured and stuff, or even if we're just sort of like gesturing, but we, you know, we get the tones in a, you know, in a good place, or the shapes in a good place, then we can just put this in, right? Forehead a little bit more, like we could say it's closer to, there are yellow tones in it often. This is going to be relative, right, to their flesh tone, how much melanin they have in their skin. Nose going to have more of a slightly cooler red. So red, right? There are reds here, but one is, you know, a little warmer versus cooler, right? And sort of that little shift starts to give you the appearance of the blood underneath the surface, right? There's blood right under the surface of the flesh. And then for everybody, you know, just a little bit, I'm gonna say like slightly cooler, almost, you know, there's a bit of a gray, but like, you know, maybe violet. Depends on the situation, but maybe a violet is a better choice. But you can think about the lower jaw area. And again, I'm like looking, there's a really strong yellow light, warm light that's hitting this head study that we're looking at. But again, I don't want to go with the last thing I see, right? Like, let me say it again. The first thing that you see is the last thing you do, right? So if I want to end with this sort of yellow light, I want to try to build up to that and sort of support it. So I might go with something slightly cooler, slightly more neutral, maybe even more neutral down here. And it's funny, you know what I mean? Like if I start putting that over here, like you can see the color, right? But then in this context, as I move it over here, it really starts to feel like, you know, some of that gray shadow in her lower jaw, because you're kind of looking at it like, whoa, what is that? You know, I don't even know. Let's see, down here, again, I might sort of shift it a little bit more neutral, but just sort of blocking in some stuff. Again, I can warm it up a bit, but I also want to I don't want to compete with the face, as it were, right? So just blocking in some very rough. Right. Can unify it a little bit, I suppose. There we go. And see, like, put that same yellow there. It's like it doesn't work. It needs something else. So it's like it feels like it might be more of this kind of like green. It's yellow, right? The blondish sort of platinum hair, but just needs a different hue. It feels even like blue as it goes back. Bluish sort of thing too. Again, I don't care. I'm just sort of like blocking it in, but I'm
looking at like the general idea down.
Yeah, I'm looking at the thumbnail. It's like, wow, that is. It takes some faith, right? You got to keep the faith and just keep working on it. But change the size of your brush, right, and come at it a few different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe like that. I like that a little bit better. It's a little cold, right? This kind of purple gray that I'm putting in right now. It's a little bit cold, but I like that a little better. All that warm, that was just too warm. And maybe, see, like bridge of the nose out a little bit too far, it feels like. So I might like smudge that slightly. So I don't know, just playing with it. So again, it's kind of like what I would say is that what I've basically gone through is it. It's just a matter of, again, it's like, going through it really patiently and methodically and letting it start to develop. But before you get to here, I'm like already smoothing it out. I don't, I definitely wouldn't recommend. That's it. We need some light. I think that was a part of our issue. Going through and smoothing it like prematurely is again, it could lock in stuff that it's not time for that, whatever. I don't know, but here we go. Let's call this like a gesture painting, a gesture sketch of a painting, right? Now I've just kind of gone on and like put all the same light everywhere. I don't think it's not very sophisticated, right? But for this really truncated, like shortened demo, maybe it's just the thing. So philtrum, right? That's the little purse between your lips, your upper lip. Important little detail. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just a little bit. I'm trying not to do the double tap. I'm not trying to backspace either. I'm trying not to do that. It just seems like it's, trying to stay in the spirit of this is how this would go in real life. But again, I think also, it may not seem like it, but I'm thinking about my color choices in terms of like warm and cool and like neutralized in intensity, right? And then even then you have to, put it up and see, how on earth does it, how does it seem to work with what's going on? All right, so I'm just gonna.
So within this part of the process, how you're blocking stuff in, is it also just getting like the colors down, like the general color down there too, just to see like the relationship between all the colors? Is that a thing that you're thinking about or worried about at all, or is it just basic shapes and just like, I think I just answered my own question. Cool, good talk.
No, I love that question. I think that's exactly. You definitely want to work on that relationship of the color, and I think that, again, like I was saying, there's a certain amount of, I think, freedom that you have with the color itself. So again, I think you get a lot more mileage out of like shape and then the value. But then yes, like then you can really pick some exciting and dramatic colors. Is that too red? You think that's going to be too red? Might be. I don't know. It's shockingly red. Yeah, it's a very bright shade of lipstick. So I don't know if this is like too much. That might be way too much. But it's a touch, right?
So,
and then
yeah.
I don't know what color are the teeth. They're like, again, like we said, they're not white, but they're definitely in there.
So with like,
you can
say
see the
like,
color I chose. Hopefully it's kind of a, like a warm neutral, a
mhm.
warm neutral color. Accent maybe just a little, like look at this sharp, dark sort of accent right there in the corner of the mouth. Say these corners of these eyes as well. Just kind of refining the shape of the lash. Like this would be the spot where you try to get their, wherever they're gazing, you can try to get it to be accurate. Like they're looking at something particularly. That would be nice if you can make that,
Mhm.
if you can make that occur.
Dude, that's so hard sometimes. Oh my gosh.
It's hard to do. I think
Yeah.
worth the practice though, right?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
I think it's important to bring the viewer into the piece along with the subject matter.
Mhm.
Definitely. Like too blue. It's like it needs more purple or something, right? Something like too light. I think sometimes too you end up, you may get into this little space where you're just sort of like trying out colors, and you're actually like, interestingly, you may really learn something or come up with something that like you find is a really valuable move for you.
Mhm.
So something about you just playing with the paint, right?
Mhm.
I really, again, I think doing this with paint teaches you a lot. But but yeah, if you don't have access to paint, right, you can definitely, I think, get quite a bit of experience working with your tablet. So yeah, some cooler lights, you know what I mean, over here. It kind of starts to round out the shape of the skull.
Mhm.
So zygomatic arch, that's your cheekbone, right? Like the lower part like forms, the under part of your, orbital socket. And then we've got this temporal line right here. This is upper part on more on the cranium itself. Head can be sort of broken up in two pieces, like the cranial mask where your brain is, and then like the facial mask, right? So the face part. And so that's really, pretty much it's usually what we care about a lot, as often as the face. But really, it really does need um, they need to be related, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. The head to the face, the cranium to the face. So a little more intense right here, but warm. Frontal bone. That's the very, very front of your forehead. The frontal bone. Yeah, the blue lights. I like them a little strong, but again, that could be a part of your aesthetic. Uh, Really dark eyebrows, but I'm gonna go kind of neutral because it's like a kind of a charcoal sort of a vibe to them. And so I get them gesturing these, and you can, really measure these out and make them very accurate. And sometimes that's like very worthwhile to do. All right. Eyebrow. Maybe now a warm dark. Just jump over and just add some touches of the warm. Neutral and warm together makes a nice combination. And maybe right there. Yeah, that. And then maybe just a little touch of looks kind of blue, like a blue eye. Add just a note. But again, you might build it up. You know what I mean? You might build it, like put some down, and then I don't know. It doesn't matter. Sort of figure it out. Here's a little touch more. It might be too electric. I don't know, but yeah. Then you could save. I don't know that this white. This might be too bright, but you have a spectral highlight. It's too much. Too much. Little pupil in there. Too much. There we go. Knock that back a little tiny bit. Yeah, and then I mean, it's just like, you know, you could keep refining it and keep I think, you know, also let's say that you'll need to get some of these little details, you know, draw them in, find out. I'm gonna approximate where this nostril, it's dark, but I'm also using like it's warm, right? It's gonna have a warm neutral, but I'm trying to use this warm neutral and like sort of, you know, look for there's like the darkest part of the you know, the inner nostril here you can see, and then really kind of intense warm right underneath it. You don't want to have a bloody nose appearance, but you know what I mean. So okay, yeah, I don't know, something like this. Refine it. A little bit of light over here, it looks like. Yeah. And then I might go back, you know, and like you can play with that, with the edge a little bit. What was that? It was like dark and it was cooler. So I might change my brush. This. Try to sharpen that edge. Again, you might go back and sort of, change the edge quality here. And then you might like, you know, so you like touch the background, then you might have to go back and like lay in a little bit more. Lay in a little bit more of the face color so it sits on top. And the digital program does a really nice job of representing that. I mean, it might just be because that's just how it is. But certainly with a painting, right? If you could have that, might have a hard, sharp edge where you want a slightly softer one, right? Or this interface between like, you know, the face and like the background. So I don't know. You know, it's a work in progress. This is a quick sketch. Here we go. Push that a little bit. It's a quick sketch, and I think if you know, like if you really sort of, you know, you take your time and you don't rush into the detail part of it, you may end up being able to come up with some pretty nice paint there. So I think with that, nice demo. Just a couple last little flicks. Flick it around a little bit. Like you're ruining it. Yes. Ruined. Right. There you go. That's okay. And then yeah, there's so many more little details and stuff. You know, it's like God, it never ends. Where's this ear supposed to go? Again, I don't know, making it up. Helix, concha, tragus. You guys hang around the piercers all the time. You know what I mean? You may, maybe you know all these. You know all these names. Okay, I think that's it. I'm good. I'm good on this. I'm good. Hold on a second.
It's looking great, man.
Let me cut. Let's go back to not just me. Bring you guys, bring the gang in. Hey, thanks for watching that, and hope that was fun, and like I hope you want to try it. I hope that it's hope it made sense.
Yeah,
we're gonna do it 100%. A few more times, so yeah. So just keep working on it, and I want to come back and we'll look at this one in a couple of weeks. We'll see if we get our chops. See if we get our chops up. See if we do a little bit better.
I'm down.
Cool.
100%.
Yeah, that was very informative just to watch.
Yeah, 100%.
Thanks. I think I do want to get more comfortable just doing it and not, not worrying about it too much. It's weird. I mean, it's weird. Like, it's one thing doing it like, making artwork in your own secluded bubble. And it's another one, to like be doing it live and people can watch. Tattoos are like that. You're doing a tattoo. It's like they're likely your customers are going to look at it occasionally. Hopefully by the end of it, they'll look. But you may have a whole room full of people who are stopping by, and not that I'm so popular. I'm just saying, it's activity. People are interested. They want to come and look and stuff. So
100%.
So it's, I guess I don't get too bothered by it. I enjoy a part of it, but I appreciate you guys coming and, egging me on, and then, I'd love it. I would love it if you guys, want to paint along. We could all paint the same painting. We could all paint different ones, whatever you like. But we'll talk more about it.
Okay, you feel like the iPad is a good set, like, you as a painter, how do you feel about working with the iPad painting?
I really love it, and I think it's a great option. I also want to encourage painting too, and so that could be with acrylic paints. I mean, watercolor still is fun as well. Gouache. I could list every paint and be like, oh, I love it because it's paint. But I think if it's something that you're interested in, make some space to do it. I think that's critical with oil painting. Is that's the difference. If you're working digitally, you can just sort of sit in the corner and you don't have to bother anybody, and you've got all this capacity to do all these things. You are limited because it's such a it's little. I mean, you could have a big Cintiq, you have a really big digital pad to draw on, but ultimately there's a limiting quality. When you're painting, I think when you watch people paint like plein air, like that means they go out into life and just paint some, they paint a barn or a cityscape or whatever. They've got like a little tiny palette and their little painting. That is very difficult. So I think that's a higher degree of difficulty, is to paint real small. So I would say get yourself some space. Make sure there's plenty of rooms. You can splash the paint around if you need to. But try it. I mean, that's all you can do to know if you were into it or like it or not, if it's for you.
Do you feel like sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, what were you saying?
No, I was rambling. I was just trying to say, like, I think another part of painting, like, it can be difficult to find the drive personally. I think it might, if you really are interested in it, you might need to find some other people who are already doing it and hang out with them.
Okay.
Like, get with some other people who want to paint as well. And that's a really great way to sort of to stay motivated and to like touch the grass and to, get your paintings out, get your paintings done. And then again, like I was saying, you can move on to the more advanced stuff. Like painting every day, you know, and painting little tiny, you know, and your little tiny things. You're painting huge paintings or something like that, big mural. Don't start with a big mural. Don't start with a micro, right? Get some painting buddies, you know what I mean? Some painting friends, and get out there and paint. I think that's the you may find in your community there already are these things going on. People that paint, they get together often and they paint. They like to paint outside. There might be some resource like that. I don't think paint and sip is. I think that's the worst option. I think that if you're gonna do anything, right, digitally, right, paint in real life, yeah, just avoid the paint and sip. If that's a brand, I apologize. No, like going to a just a completely pre-rehearsed, like, paint this stroke, paint that stroke, take a drink, paint this stroke. I don't think that's super valuable. Might be fun. I just don't. I could be totally wrong. I don't see like the artistic value in doing that sort of a practice, right? I don't think it gives you like a real sense of like actually digging in and painting either. So, anyway, yeah, that's my opinion about it. I may, you know, I may not be 100%, but whatever it takes to get out there. I'm sorry, you guys were talking. I don't mean to be such a going on and on.
So in the process of like, say, like practicing oil painting on a tablet, right? Do you feel like it would be all in vain if I just sat here and I practice on the tablet, and then I go to do actual like oil painting, and it just like it's a completely different experience? And so like it's just like I've been trying to prepare to oil paint when I actually haven't been preparing to oil paint, if that makes sense.
I don't think it's all in vain. It would be totally different though. And so that's all you can do is to do what you can, right? Whatever you have access to, you do it. I don't think it's in vain. I do think that they can inform each other. You know, working digitally can inform how you paint, and painting can inform how you work digitally. I'm trying to get into this mindset of recreating like what is my experience like when I'm painting with a brush. Now I'm working digitally, like today. Like how is that? How do I conform to what the limits are of painting with a brush digitally? So like I said, I didn't want to backspace. I was trying to like I wasn't trying to use every color in the box. I was trying to think about it like somewhat limited. So yeah, I don't know if that like if that helps, but I guess I would say it's almost like, you know, if you were to use a practice skin to do a tattoo, right? Versus doing it on a body. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you know, very different experiences. And and I'm not saying that one, you know, that painting is the real thing and you know, digital is the practice. I'm not saying that. They could both be and not be at the same time. Right? Like you could practice your painting so you can really move into the digital. I have a friend like that. He does digital paintings of athletes, and they look like paintings because he goes and paints. You know what I mean? He would always come and paint with us, and we'd paint, and it was a way for him to practice and inform his digital painting because that's how he makes his money. He digitally paints, but he would practice in real life so he could bring that aesthetic, could bring that feel into his digital work. That's and he does. I think he's really successful at that bit.
That's interesting.
And then, you know, again, I've shown we've definitely talked about other artists, other painters who like they really use a lot of digital manipulation to get their reference so they can bring that into their actual painting, right? You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of ways it can be symbiotic, or you know, they can really sort of round each other out, as it were.
Yeah, I can see it like the certain aspects of each can kind of overlap, but it's still like different things, you know. And I can see how doing this is going to help improve this, and this is going to help improve that, you know, type of thing. So that makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. Well, if that's it for today, you know, I'm so happy that you guys came. It's so great to see you. I know we missed, we may have missed last week, but we're back.
Yeah.
And so, again, I'm hoping to do some more painting. I like this idea of like some, you know, doing some focused sort of exploration, more of a long form thing where we're kind of doing stuff. Maybe there's like, you know, like homework almost, but
yeah.
But yeah, no,
Well,
I
I mean,
would,
like,
I would love to keep on painting with you guys. And so, if you're still here with us, join us next week. We're probably going to paint again.
yeah.
But yeah, give us your sign offs, everybody, and let's. I want to hear where you're at and how can we get a hold of you. Kyle, you were first today.
If you want to get a hold of me, you could definitely reach out on Instagram at Olson_tattoos, OLSON. And you can also reach out and get a hold of me at trinityartcollective.com. More than happy to talk about tattoos and artwork. So whatever.
Well, thank you, Kyle. Spirit, love to hear where we can where can we come get a new tattoo from you?
You can come to Tattoo Spirits, located 3319 Platte Springs Road, West Columbia, South Carolina. You can find me on Instagram, Tattoos by Spirit, and TikTok, Tattoos by Spirit. My website is tattoosbyspirit.com.
Outstanding. Yeah, it's been if you all aren't following Spirit, you should. You're really documenting your journey, you know, as like starting this new shop, and I think it's been very cool to watch, and all the really great tattoos and great customer experiences that you're sharing. I think that's the that's such an interesting aspect, right? Like a lot of times we're just sort of showing tattoos, and it's like, you know, hey, guy, thanks for the trust, right? But you're taking it, I think, a step further. You're really getting them involved, and I think that's actually there's something really great about that. So anyway, I'm James. This has been Drawing for Tattooers.
Thanks for watching. I'm having a lot of fun creating it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, appreciate you. Well, visit us next week, and we hope that you paint along. Want to say thanks to Tattoo Now. Ask for Gabe, right? He'll get you hooked up. And then also thanks to Guy Atchison. Thanks, Guy. We really appreciate the space and everything that you all are doing behind the scenes. Again, happy